Aha. Are we on?
Should be.
Hey.
I'll do the double check on YouTube.
Well,
Says we're streaming.
in the hopes that we've got everything working and you can hear me, good evening and welcome. And can't believe it's been a week already. Doesn't it fly by? But I'm back on the Satsumas. I sold a Satsuma picture on Saturday. Well, I didn't, someone else sold it for me, but yeah, so I thought, well, what a good excuse to get some Satsumas on the go again. Yeah, so there we are. That's the entire decision behind this. But I did find this this big glass, which was from a gin night at Vineyards, I think. I don't think I even went to it, but someone stole a glass and they left it in my house, so now I own that.
Oh, the Battens ones are the ones that got sponsored by, well, they sponsored Vineyards.
Yes.
They were free for everybody to take home once they'd.
Oh right, okay. Oh, so they weren't.
It wasn't half-inch, no.
Right. Well, that's good. Not harbouring stolen goods or anything. Then. Bit of mixing white today. So we were talking about working on these panels because it's smaller, and it's smooth. Hasn't got like that rough tooth of a canvas. Even a sized canvas has got quite a lot of tooth to it. I thought I might break out the soft brushes and do something a bit more delicate and possibly even detailed. So yeah, I've got a few choices here. I usually do have at least one kind of hair type brush in my little wallet. Yeah, I'll give you a little clue into this. So that's my little brush wallet, and in there would be a couple of palette knives and colour shapers and things like that. There we are. And then somewhere down at the bottom there will be a soft brush for a point, which I'd usually only use for a signature or something, but you never know when you might need it, so they find their way to the bottom. There's a rigger. Hang on. Oh, you can see me. Yeah, there we are. There's my little rigger. Oh, a flat palette knife, which is good for mixing looser paint. So I've got some options there going forwards. But I will start with some brittles, and I'll start with some simple mixes as well. I don't want this. In fact, on the camera, the green of the background isn't anywhere near as prominent, and that's more what I want it, because in real life, it's a little bit intense. So I'm going to start with some of that. I've got a bit of this green left over from a previous mix. That's a bit more subtle and good for the lights. Then when it gets to the shadows, take it down one. I've still got a bit of Prussian blue. A little bit of Viridian, just for flavour. Now I'll put that in the middle. Take some of that and mix an even darker one. Oh, it's quite hard to identify that colour, but it's a lot more neutral than that. I'm going to put some raw umber in it. Oh goodness, where's that? No, I think that's about right. Does feel about right. And what other colours am I going to need? Oh, there's too many at the moment, too many to think about. If I come over here, you can see there's this colour at the bottom is part of the same family as the colour above it. The orange, these colours here are going to allow the orange to be much more orange once it's on the canvas. So again, 2 colours for that, I guess. Do I want a third one? I'm going to mix a grey. I'm going to take a little bit of raw umber, a bit of burnt umber, which I also have on the palette at the moment. A lump of ultramarine blue. Mix them together and I'll get a nice warm black sort of colour.
Bit of a scratchy voice today then, James.
I am a little bit croaky, yeah. I don't think it's it's the kind of cold that's going to lay me out.
Just be the one that's there for the next few weeks that is just a bugger to get rid of.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you get... It's socialising, that's what it is. You need to stay away from all these awful people with their pathogens. No, getting out and seeing people again is a nice thing. Okay, there's a couple of these sort of black colours here. I'm going to want some more of that green. I've got this pale one here. I'm going to make some more of that. Again, this one's going to be a bit cleaner. Prussian blue and Viridian is going to make really quite an intense pure colour. Just a bit more like what's behind it. Oh, I'm not going to need all of that in that state. It's really quite powerful.
Is it quite a good feeling when you mix a colour and you get it right the very first time?
I suppose I sort of get used to it because that happens most of the time.
Mm.
You're really concentrating on that sort of that small percentage that just won't play, and there's always some of those.
Yeah.
So you kind of, I suppose I ought to take more time to be satisfied with it. And I guess the thing is, it's a process of correction. If you asked me to look at these core paints and have they just parked outside my house with their terrible radio on? They're just slowing down. I think we're okay. Yeah, so if you said, I want the exact recipe of how to mix this colour, there's no way you'd be able to do it, but you make tiny adjustments incrementally. This is a constant process of self-correction. So, now that's there. Pop a bit of yellow in it.
And what's going to be the part that you focus on most at the beginning with this one?
Really, it's the colours. The colours are going to do all the work on this, which is why I'm starting like this. So let's put gradual bits of yellow into this. Yeah, that's a super intense version. So that's the actual colour of the background. And I want a slightly faded warmer version of that rather than cadmium yellow, and pop a little bit of yellow ochre in there, soften it down, lighten it up. There you are. So yeah, the big change in, if it was one object, I'd be looking at changes in colour temperature within it. As it is, the easy peelers are really warm and the background of the glass are really cool. Mm-hmm. And that temperature change is by far the biggest one and therefore the most significant. So that's the thing I'm going to be trying to communicate. This is from a previous bit of painting. Just pick that up. Is that any use for anyone, for anything?
The title's already come to me.
Oh, what's that?
There's orange squash. It's squashed in the glass. It's
so
brilliant, isn't it?
So the best you can do.
These things write themselves.
Have you been losing sleep or something? God's sake. Yeah, so not that. So that, you know, if somebody wants to suggest a title, always happy to hear those. I don't pay that much attention to them. Generally tend to do what I like, but at least Graham set the bar low. So
it's I am merely a stepping stone.
It's your gift to everyone, isn't it?
Set the bar low enough that everybody else feels empowered.
Yeah, we're all grateful for your sacrifice.
Thank you.
So mean. Right, I'm going to do a sketchy little bit of drawing first, actually. Before I get around to mixing the oranges, let's just see how that plays. I'm going to close one eye and blow my vision. Now I want this to sit, I want plenty of space around the outside of it. So that is roughly where I want my centre line. Okay. That's about where I want the lowest Satsuma. And I don't want it to extend. Where's the shadow going? There you are. So if I think of this as negative spaces and bits and pieces, this should work out quite well. That will give me the edge of the thing, the shape. And if I'm confident about that, what's that switched itself off? I'm using that centre line to sort of keep my symmetry together, but it's not an absolute thing. Okay, I'm comfortable with that. I can chuck some tone in there. And I can do a few of these negative spaces in here as well. It's going to go like that. It's going to come out the top. Oh. I've done the thing. That is about the middle, isn't it? And there's this shape underneath. Quite know where that's going to be. And yeah. These dark shapes, that's going to make a negative shape over here. What's that doing? bad, actually. I'm comfortable with that. Gets my drawing in. This is at a certain point I'm sort of lifting more than I'm putting in, but there you go.
The satsumas, tangerines, and oranges all taste that different.
You're asking the wrong person.
I'm not a big fan of the kind of citrus fruit. So, yeah, for me, it's like, I don't know.
You think they all taste the same?
Well, my question is, do they really taste that different? Not, I think they all taste the same, because I don't know. I've never tried them next to one another.
Oh, well, maybe if you know, yeah, maybe you need to do some experiments.
But is it going to be like putting a, I don't know, plantain next to a banana? Because they do taste vastly different. But then you look at them and they are vastly different. Whereas a satsuma and a tangerine, for instance, not actually that dissimilar to one another.
No, I suppose not. Yeah, I don't know. No, I've got nothing much to say on that one, Graham. That was a good shot, but yeah, I don't think that one's going to turn into a fascinating conversation. Yeah, I don't know if that. I do have something interesting I could tell you about lemons and oranges. Is that the scent molecule for lemons and oranges, which I guess is the flavour molecule too, are identical but chirally opposite.
That's interesting.
So they're basically a mirror image of one another. So
hence you've got the sour and sweet then.
Well, I guess it's, we're not reacting to a different chemical, we're just reacting to a different shape. And that's why they taste different. Which is extraordinary, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get the same thing with sugars and things. Now, I'll start with a fairly big brush on this, actually. And I'll have a little brush for doing the slightly darker shapes.
It's quite loud, isn't it?
Yeah. I should have blue tacked this. Yeah, well, it's just for the blocking in, it'll all get a bit quieter after that.
It kind of took me a minute. I thought that when you said I should have blue tacked it, I was like, but aren't you? Because you're putting blue on and you're tacking it onto the page. But then I realised you should have put blue tack behind it to stick it to the. Yeah.
Very, very useful thing to have around. This will, get a basic ground in this. It will darken as it goes across. I'm really looking for negative shapes at the moment. Here we go. Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. There we go. How are they looking placed now, these different shapes? Right. Right, this whole Satsuma has to move down. But I want it to be there. And now otherwise I have to shrink everything. We'll just do that, it's fine. So I've got a bit of this sort of warm black. I'm already just doing a bit of a brush mix here, just to make this slightly darker colour that goes underneath. Actually, that is quite a useful thing to have. Like I said, I haven't got my orange yet, so there's a good place for this stuff to go. Even darker than that. Oh, some of that blue up here. Is that too dark? Is that about right? Well, it's hard to judge. I can push and pull it as I go along. And again, like I said, it's just for the sake of a bit of blocking in. Start there. It's going to have some. I'll start to sort of pull the lights out as I go along. Yeah. That's the kind of thing. You go here. Warmer dark underneath. Okay, I'm doing it all with a big brush now, which was not the original intention. Oh, come all the way down here. Bit dark, bit here. Swoop underneath. That will take me down to the actual level of the background. I'll quite make my mind up about this. Okay, so I'm fiddling with the drawing as well as I go along. And that'll be okay. Okay, just for the sake of blocking in some background, that's fine. The excess off, putting a bit of extra colour over here, a bit in here. It doesn't look a lot different, does it? Too near the bottom. Oh, that'd be okay. Hmm. Right. A quick bit of blocking in. Give that brush a wash. Now I'll do the same with this one. Now what? Some other colours which are going to be a happy family with these greens that I've mixed. One which is a really strong dark contrast. Some burnt umber. There's a bit of blue going in there just to dull it down. I put a tiny bit of mixing white. This side of things. Put a bit more crimson in it. Yeah. That will do as a dark colour, I guess, and then it's just a matter of the brighter orange. If I mix, I've done this before, if I mix the brightest orange I can with the colours I've got, which is going to be cadmium yellow and cadmium red, which are quite opaque. Yeah, that's as far as that's going to go. Make a slightly duller version of it by borrowing a bit of this brown. A bit of mixing white, so I've got somewhere to go when I want it to be more orange. That's not loads of paint. Maybe it'd be okay just to sort of sketch in some basic shapes. Let's see how far this goes. There's a little bit of thinners on the brush. That needs to be redder, doesn't it? Very interesting. There you are.
I like the bold colour starts like that.
Yeah, so going in straight with the brightest ones right at the beginning. And if I go in with the darks now, create a few outlines. These points. I can go back in with the brights over the top as and when I need to. Starting point now, it does a job. There we are. It's going to go in there. Smashing. Amazing how the Satsumariness turns up pretty much straight away, isn't it? That's just down to the tonal values. Tonal values are accurate. Everything else should behave itself. Got to come all the way over here. Oh yeah, I forgot a bit, didn't I? Down here. doing this one backwards, doing the dark first. I'll put the orange on afterwards. I guess I can probably do now. I'll hopper a little bit of that grey from before. Some extra darks to go in on top of that, but in the meantime, I guess that starts to do it already, doesn't it?
It's from that you'll know what it's going to be.
I've got enough of a context there because it'll place my other colours and bits and pieces.
The whole Britishness. Quite pleased with that. Cup of tea.
This might be a good time to spatule it, because there's hardly any paint on there, so I can sort of break up some edges and nothing I can't restore again afterwards. Let some of the colours sort of borrow bits of each other. You can see how much the orange and the green just don't go together. When they invade one another, it really disturbs things. But okay, pushed a bit of green off there. And stay within the orange a little bit. That was unnecessary. Oh, I can see where that orange is going to work up here. Yeah, should be quite fun. Oh, now have a bit of a stretch. Yep. Well done. Yeah, now I start thinking about this. I can see different qualities coming out of it. Also realise that the light from that doesn't make a lot of difference actually. The light from the subject lamp is also landing on the canvas because I'm quite close.
Oh, you moved the camera.
Huh?
You moved the camera.
Oh.
That's all right.
No, actually, that wasn't deliberate. I can do it. I can put it back. There you are. Fine. Must have bumped into it. Okay, proper bit of preparation. What am I going to need more of? I think maybe it'll be brush mixes for the rest of it. I'm going to need a bit of this grey background colour. Some of that blue to lighten it. Make another one. Yeah, this sort of bluey grey. This is in quite a few bits. There you are. There's some pale greys.
So with the paintings that I've watched you paint so far, obviously you start the kind of like base outline and then the detail comes in there after. At what point do you go, well, that is the base of the image and I'm now going to start doing detail? And which detail do you look at first to sort of progress from?
Well, I'll use this as an example. I've got the basic 4 or 5 colours in that are going to describe the shapes and how things go together and what makes the image look like the image. But then in addition to that, there are other little bits and pieces I probably hadn't taken into account. In this, you can see the base of the glass is missing. And that's because there's a lot of greys that I just don't have on the palette. I can't use any other existing colours. So now I can start to place that. And I'm going to do that with this middling grey. And enough of the drawing is there now that I can put it in quite comfortably and say, yeah, I think that's probably pretty accurate. So that bottom of the stem is down here. And there's a sort of a green version. Yeah, then it gets a bit darker, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. Just a few little sort of placement marks. And then there's these edges, yeah, which aren't massively tonally different from what's around them. And then there's reflections. I'll make it a bit greener for the reflection, just to carry a bit more of that colour into it. Okay, now I can go a bit darker where it needs it. Same brush. And so there's some darker bits down here at the bottom of the stem. Oh, that's too far away. Okay, sort of other ring of dark around there. darker grey along the bottom of here, but that's not. There's extra green in there actually. I'm seeing other things, so I'm seeing a purpley quality, so I'm going to mix a little bit of that over here, or on the blue side. And now I can do a brush mix where I introduce that a little bit. So pop a bit of that in here and get away with. Yeah, that's pretty good. Ooh, a little bit in here as well. It all goes up the sides. So I'm spotting little things. I'm also getting sort of dragged into details where they're not that important. I'm going to back off that now. I'm going to go back to the lighter grey. I'm going to put a bit of purple in there. I'm going to say there's a whole shape that goes across here. It's got a kind of a violet underneath it. Yeah, quite happy with that. And then that wanders over here even. It depends on the place I'm sat. If I move my head slightly, it might change. Where else can I see that colour? Oh yeah, there's a few bits in here. They've got to fit into the bigger shapes I just made. So a lot of it's about starting with small shapes and working towards bigger shapes. Partly it's just about just keeping your eyes open, seeing what you're presented with. Yeah. I'll bring that across. Yes. These detail shapes are starting to help me out a little bit. You know what, I will go back to a slightly darker one. Oh, I've got this darker green here, and I'll put a bit of that in it. So now I'm keeping my tonal balance here, but I'm also reintroducing some other colour. There's some blue in there. Where else can I see it? A little bit here. And that side. We've got this red that jumps across. Now I've got this edge of the stem, which I'm tempted not to do a fine line with. I could, actually I will, go back to my background colour, redefine some of those edges there. There we go. And a little bit on the inside, at the top, just there. And then back to the background again. There we are. That's a little bit of detail, and that's probably okay. If I go back to my slightly darker green, Let's see what I can bring out of here. Got a shape there. Not working. Yeah, I can pretty well see where that's meant to go. The shape in here as well. And this is all about dividing up bigger shapes into smaller shapes. Once I've done enough of that, it'll reveal to me what goes where. Now there's a bit of that in here. I'll put some into that negative space. Draw that line across. I'm seeing other things. There's a bit of a bluer bit there. There's a bit of a yellow bit on the inside. There's sort of a yellow triangle up here. Maybe that's too soon. I should have left that till later. Either way, it's in now. Slightly darker green, which goes into that shape. Things with these stripes going down. Where else is that? It's on the other side too. Definitely darker in here. Oh, and down in here.
You have quite a neck for painting glass, don't you?
Neck.
Neck. Talent for it.
I guess so. It's, you know what? It's just about painting what you see, not what you think you see. And the things I find it harder to paint are really just the things I find it harder to unsee. The more there's an idea of it in my head of what I should be looking at, what I should see, what I expect to see, the more that intrudes and interrupts the pure act of looking. Which is actually a big part of the reward of painting, is to sort of get to go into that world where, oh, see, that was wrong. Talking about self-correction. Here's my shadow colour. Here's a bit of that green. Here's a new sort of meeting of the two. Here's that lighter edge. Yay! Keep changing that shape. Go back into the darker one. Then there's a browner version, sort of blacker version over here. Yeah, so the flowers, for example, there's an idea of what a flower looks like, and anyone who's good at painting flowers, I guarantee you, however good they might be at pure looking, and however much that was instrumental to them being able to paint flowers, there's still this sort of collection of, not shortcuts exactly, but types of observation which they can trust themselves with that will deliver that end result. Yeah, so managing tonal values is a big part of it. Well, hang on. If you can get them right, everything else will kind of look after you. Yeah, have I kept my symmetry or am I losing it? I don't think I'm going to need the little soft brushes for this, to be honest. I think this is going to emerge quite happily by itself. That's just some of the blue being the reflection in the on the Satsumas. Oh, I've got that green on the brush. Make a little pale one over here. I'll have a bit of the blue in it, so the fact I'm using that brush is relevant. A long, long way off the highlight colour, but I can still start to sneak it in. Same in here. Where else is that? Slightly bluer version. No, there needs to be a slightly purplier version. Purplier? There's a new word.
Say it again.
Purplier.
Purplier.
What? More purplier. Purple. Purplier. Purpliest. A bit too much, but a little hint, that's okay. I think go back to my grey. It's over here somewhere. There we go. With some little hints of extra bit of dark over here. And there. Now where else can we go? A bit there, a bit there. Didn't like that. Ooh. I feel like I'm putting a much darker colour on here, but I'm really not. If I were to go into a slightly darker colour, turn it up a bit. Much bluer. Oh, there you go, it works. It goes in here. Where else can it go? Okay, this is where it gets fun, isn't it? I can have a bit. Have a blob of that in the middle of there. Dash of that. Pause, relax, step back. Let's put a bit more in here, shall we? Yes. That's going to be brown. I'm going to have a bit of an angle on it. Oh, I'm looking for all sorts of places where I think it might go, but probably doesn't. Probably sneak some in there for the deep shadow. A little bit cheeky. Yeah, good. Where it's darker. Start magicking it up and putting it where it doesn't belong. Well, I would do if I let myself, because that's what every bit of my brain wants to do. Okay, so there's a few things now. Okay, this needs to be lighter. I'm going to borrow a little bit of that green colour. Quite a bit more white. Tiny bit of yellow ochre, just to warm it up a little bit. And I'm just going to mix it in on the surface. This looks like the reflection colour. And if it works, I can mix it a bit more deliberately. How's that look? Pretty good. Pretty good. There you are. That gives me a surface. Go back to some of this background colour here. Again, I can lighten that too. See what a job that does. There we are. What do we think of that? There's still, the glass still isn't quite right. I think it needs a little bit of this brown and the shadow colours. Just going to have a few little rhythms dotted in there, just connecting some of these bits together. Bit of dark up there, that'll probably do it. Go down here. Yeah, need this symmetry. Otherwise it's going to jar the eye. Right, these are some lights that are going to be vehicles that hold on to the highlights when eventually they go in. That's already got one, I think. Fine. Maybe one there. Definitely going to be one there. One there. Already put those in. The line on that. Oh, let's make an orange version. Put it across here. And yeah, I'll do. Give that brush a clean. But yeah, it's starting to pop out, isn't it? Right. Let's get some very light versions of this green colour. And I want to warm it ever so slightly. This little damp of yellow ochre, just to lift it a bit. Going to give me a light there. A little bit of where that travels across. Yeah, get a bit brighter. Okay, still fiddling with that, and well, it's a bit more of this green. And do this line that goes across here. Okay, in front of that zoomer. Bit underneath it. Yeah, that's quite fun. Extra colour in that. Colour in here as well. Okay, get some more of this green, breaking the edge of that shadow. We want the edge of the shadow to be soft. We also want a bit more this sort of green on the inside of it. It carries some of that warmer light around. Diffraction, I think this is. It's causing that.
Oh, not quite shadow.
It's just when you've got light going through a small gap, it will. I'm not going to start talking about what diffraction is. I have to concentrate to remember. But yeah, it's different from refraction, which is where light changes direction because it changes speed when it's going through something. But if light goes through a small space, you get this glow on either side because it's sort of bouncing out. You know when you see it's because even the sun is not a point of light. It's got a width to it, which means you've got light coming from slightly different sides. So when it shines through, like in between the leaves of a tree, you get this pattern of all these little circles, and that's basically like the opposite of a pinhole camera. Well, it's not the opposite of a pinhole camera. It's like a pinhole camera, and all of those circles are circles because the sun is a circle. If the sun was a triangle, there'd be loads of little triangles on the ground. But it's, yeah, I think that's something to do with it. Anyway, I'm not going to go on. Like, I said I wouldn't, and then I did, didn't I?
You did.
What an idiot. Okay, before I get to the bright highlights, let's put these brushes down. Let's hit up a couple of oranges. So still brush mixes. A slightly smaller brush here. I've got that brighter orange, which I'm going to work my way towards. It's also slightly yellower. Where can I? Start getting that in. Bit up here. Oh, actually, the dry brush is working quite nicely there. And then there's a sort of a shadow. There's a bit under there. Then there's a gap, but there's a shadow. Then the orange continues around. Same kind of thing here. A little highlight colours on that. Will I manage all this with the same orange? Possibly. It's quite nice how that creates the shadow of the rim of the glass. And all a bit in here, only a bit. I'll start off where it's brightest. Same thing here. And when I'm worried about running out, I've always got more. Always mix some more. There you go. And like I said, brush mixes. Sort of a brighter yellow that comes out in a few places. Bit in here. A bit around that edge there. A bit around the top. A bit around there. Okay, what else can I pull out of this? There's a sort of a halfway brown version over here somewhere. I'll use a bit of yellow ochre, give it some opacity. It's going to be in here. Where else? We've got some of that red hiding a bit around there. Still a shadow colour. A bit in here. Oh, maybe that was a bit too much. Yeah, a bit there. Doing that. Back into those darks. We've got those in here. I'm going to borrow a bit of this grey. Use that for some of the shadows. It will get brighter again. Over here. Okay, a sort of funny, slightly green reflection in here. What else is that? think I've got it in all the other places it goes. And well, get the excess off that. I'll put the highlights on my Satsumas. It's funny how you put white into that orange and it almost sort of looks a bit pink. And I thought, oh, there's a slightly violet quality to the highlights, but actually it's just what happens when you put the white into the orange. Bleaches out the yellow. A little hint of it there. This over here. I'll put a bit of yellow back. Really brighten it up. Just for a few little dashes. Only a few tiny bits. There's a bit there. A couple of little sparkles there. Again, it's just that bit. Ooh. And nothing else I can do with that. Can mix some more of that orange though. Pop a few little dots in here. Bit of texture. And the edge, a few little pinks and bits and pieces. Get some of the lights out. Hey. Hmm. I'll step back a bit here. Really have a look at this. Okay. Oh, it's close, it's close, it's close. Got this little brush. My white for the highlights here. I'm going to pour a little bit of that pinkiness. And put in a couple of these cool highlights. Maybe one there, one here. I've already sort of prepared the space for them. There's a little bright bit. It's tempting to just keep carrying on, but actually you need to differentiate the cool highlights and the warm highlights. And some of them are a bit confusing. So where I've skipped the warm highlights with the intention of coming back, I've got to remember oh, here we are. And where else? Up here. ink and dash on that. Anywhere else? Yeah, I don't think I've got this shape quite right, but I think I can bring it back at the end. Maybe I'll try it now just in case more fixing is required. Oh, it's so close. Drag that across and hopefully that will make it read better. No, I think that all needs to come in. Maybe I'm fiddling too much now. Warm highlights. A little bit of that. They are going to go there. Yeah. There's a little one. Yeah. E. Else. Dash in there. Little sparkles. Ah, yes. Oh, but I think that was it.
Are we there?
Ah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yes. I think. Yes. Okay, I've got this cooler, slightly brighter green that I'm just going to create some harder edges with here. I'm not using the palette, I'll switch that on in a sec. Already did that. It's already done. Just a bit of edge on that, that's nice. A little bit under there, and now I am definitely fiddling. Oh, hang on. The tiniest little glimpse here. Hey! Okay, that was fun and I did enjoy that. These little bits. Again, this can all be pretty rough, can't it? Don't really need to worry about that. Stop it. Stop fussing. It's fine. Leave it alone. For goodness sake, Graham, just leave it alone. And I think I'll use this deep reddish colour to sign it. There we go. Once again, it's just to see it in slightly different colours. Oh, hang on, so I'll switch my palette back on. Showing it to a different camera, which isn't on. There you are. You see the colours there, which I don't know if they look different. Let's have a little close up of the fin. Yeah, those contrasts feel a bit much higher than what I'm seeing. I tell you what, can you go to the filters where it's got colour correction? Just turn it off. It should have a little eye symbol. There you go. Yeah. Oh, that's probably better, isn't it? Maybe we should just leave it alone. So yeah, that's my obviously we've got a bit of distortion on bits and pieces. And that's my subject matter over there.
Big fan of the glass stem.
Just
how that built and came together is incredible.
Stands up on its own. So yeah, that was a bit of fun. Thank you, Graham, for your assistance. Yeah, it sort of lacks a bit of contrast there, doesn't it? But at the same time, a bit more natural. Yeah. There you go. Oh, that's a fun little painting, that. I was quite pleased. Yeah, so if you'd like to see the original, and they're flying off the walls at the moment, so you get in there quick. Another sale today, was it, Graham?
There was.
Well done.
It certainly was.
So it never stops. So yeah, this will be a bargain price in a little frame. So come along to the bean shop and have a look. And yeah, if you want to get in touch via the website. Please don't use Facebook because it's full of scammers. Because I will just ask you to use the website if that's what happens. Yeah, and thanks for joining. And any ideas for next week?
We're starting to get closer and closer to Easter, aren't we?
Oh right, yes. Then we shall celebrate Ishtar and all her spring glory.
Also, I'm not going to be here next week.
Ah, well, I'd say we'd miss you, but
no,
probably won't notice.
I'm going to say Moggins had missed me, but no, considering he tried to maul my throat earlier.
Yeah. Oh, he's got it in for you, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Well, you must have done
he
something.
Doesn't want me around now.
He's a very discerning animal, so I know who I'm siding with. Thanks again for your help. And yes. Oh, there you are, over there. Hello. And we'll see you next time.
Yep.